What's the most unhinged family rule you grew up with? I grew up in a household that had rules so bizarre they sound fake when I explain them. But the worst one, the one that basically dictated my entire childhood and adolescence, was what my parents called the silence rule. In my family, it was forbidden to speak during meals unless you were directly addressed by my dad. Not just, don't talk with your mouth full. I mean, absolute silence. If you so much as asked for the salt without being granted permission, you'd get punished. And by punished, I don't mean a light scolding. I mean you'd either get grounded, food taken away, or publicly humiliated by my parents. When I was 8, I once asked my brother if he could pass the water pitcher during dinner. My dad slammed his fork down, stood up, and yelled that I had contaminated the ritual of dinner. He made me stand facing the wall while the rest of the family finished eating, and afterward, I had to write, "Silence means respect," 50 times in a notebook. I remember crying so hard because I was still hungry, but they told me it was my own fault for being selfish and chatty. This rule got stricter the older we got. By the time I was in middle school, they'd turned it into a full-blown ritual. Dad would start dinner by saying, "The floor is closed unless I open it." If anyone laughed, coughed too loudly, or tried to say something out of turn, we'd get labeled as disrespectful and ungrateful. One night, when I was about 12, my younger sister dropped her fork and whispered, "Sorry." You'd think she had set fire to the house. My mom grabbed her plate away and told her she wasn't mature enough to join us, and sent her to bed without food. Later, when I tried to sneak her a sandwich, I got caught, and my mom called me a sneaky little traitor. She said, "This is why you'll never survive in the real world. Rules exist for a reason. You'll embarrass yourself out there." That kind of gaslighting was constant. Anytime we questioned the rule, we were told it was for our own good. Real families eat in silence because only weak families gossip and bicker at the table. My dad said it was about discipline, but really it was about control. It wasn't just meals either. This rule bled into other parts of life. If we had guests over, my parents would make us sit quietly and not interrupt adults. I once tried to tell a neighbor where the bathroom was, and my mom pinched me so hard under the table that I had a bruise the next day. When I confronted her, she told me I imagined it and that I was too dramatic. The irony? My parents constantly talked at meals. My dad would rant about politics or his coworkers for hours. My mom would gossip about relatives. But if we even chuckled at a joke between ourselves, we'd get snapped at with, "Who gave you permission to open your mouths?" High school was when I started pushing back. Once I said something sarcastic after my dad complained about his boss. He stared at me like I'd spit in his food and said, "If you want to be a smart mouth, you can buy your own groceries and cook for yourself." He then locked the fridge and pantry for a full day, forcing me to survive on tap water and a single granola bar I found in my backpack. He later told me, "Maybe now you'll learn to respect tradition." Anytime I brought it up, they'd double down with lines like, "You'll thank us one day for teaching you manners. Other families are chaotic. Ours has order. You'll embarrass us if you can't sit like a proper young lady. Words are weapons. We're teaching you restraint." It got to the point where my siblings and I developed a whole system of hand signals under the table just to communicate basic things, like "pass the bread" or "don't eat that, it's too spicy." We were basically prisoners at our own dinner table. Fast forward to adulthood. I moved out at 19 for college and swore I'd never live like that again. Eating with friends for the first time felt like a culture shock. I remember the first dinner party I attended where everyone was laughing, talking, and joking. I almost cried because it felt so warm and alien to me, but my parents still expect us to follow this rule when we visit. Last month, my siblings and I went home for a family reunion dinner. I brought my fiancé, his first time meeting them, and I warned him about the silence rule. He thought I was exaggerating until it actually happened. We all sat down. My dad gave his usual spiel. "The floor is closed." My fiancé, trying to lighten the mood, made a casual joke about the food smelling amazing. My dad slammed his hands on the table and said, "You're not in charge here. In this house, you speak when spoken to." The whole room went dead quiet. My fiancé looked at me like, "Is this real?" I snapped. I said, "This rule is ridiculous and I'm not doing it anymore." My dad's face turned purple. He yelled that I was destroying family tradition and that I'd poison my siblings with rebellion. I told him flat out, "You don't own my voice anymore." Then I picked up my plate, walked to the living room, and ate while watching TV. My fiancé joined me, and one by one, my siblings followed. For the first time ever, the silence rule completely fell apart. My mom later cornered me and hissed, "You've ruined everything. This family will never be the same because of you." I told her, "Good. It was never healthy to begin with."